Man, oh man. Just as we thought it couldn't get any worse for Highguard, it does. It never fails. It just keeps getting worse. And it's sad because I'm one of the people who like the game, but it just keeps getting worse. It turns out that there's a couple team members that have said that a load of staff have been let go. Am I surprised by that staff's being let go? No, because the game's not doing well. There's been a lot of criticism about it. It's something that I expected. But let's see what Moist Critical has to say. Before we do anything, W Moist Critical, Penguinz0, however you guys call him. I prefer Moist Critical, but yeah, shout out Moist Critical, W Moist Critical in the comments. And let's see what he's had to say. Sad times though.
Open its eyes after its birth. It seems like Fort Jinkies. So, Highguard, huh? What's the deal with salt shakers? Am I right? It's
right.
Well, it's not good news.
What's the deal?
On the front of Highguard, there has been an announcement, and maybe an announcement's not the right word to use. It's not really accurate to say that. There have been some LinkedIn posts from former Wildlight employees. Wildlight is the studio behind Highguard.
Okay, former
mentioning
Wildlight
that most of the staff has been laid off at the studio following the release of Highguard, which only came out about 2 weeks ago.
It's a shame.
2 weeks appears to be like the curse, because Concord had something very similar where it only had a lifespan.
The Concord comparison, it was coming. It was coming, the Concord comparison. That's the thing. Any game that doesn't do well from now on, like I can't speak. Any game that can't perform well right now, moving forward, is always going to be brought back to that Concord comparison. Concord is cooked. This is one of those. It's one of those situations. You've made a landmark in history. You are now forever that point of reference. Anytime you need it, that's what you draw for, the Concord card. It's unfortunate for Concord. They're literally a walking meme now.
It had completely shut its doors in about 2 weeks. It barely even was able to open its eyes after its birth. It seems like 14 days is the magic number that big budget games are given to either blow up or blow out your ass.
It does seem like that's the thing now.
You know, where you get that phone call saying you're going to die in 7 days, but in the video games industry, you get 14 days. You're going to die in 14 days, it seems. Now,
you got 14 days to decide whether you're a good game or not.
A whole year-long roadmap, which made a lot of people believe more heavily in them committing to the long term of growing this, expanding it, and trying to make it flourish and find a player base. And make no mistake, this game did have a successul launch. The day this puppy came out, 100,000.
I don't think people understand the magnitude of that launch. Like 97,000 peak at its peak is insane. We can't take it away. We can't take that away from Highguard. No matter what anyone has to say about it now and how they seem it to be performing, that launch was incredible. Granted, it was because of the way it was announced and so on. There was a lot of anticipation behind it. So granted, that's fair enough. But yeah, you can't take that away. That 97,000 is incredible. But that kind of drop, that magnitude, that is literally that's like a 90%, if my maths is all right. That's more than a 90% drop. Damn. Those numbers are not good.
Curious sports fans hopped in there to check it out, but as of right now, there's just over 2,400 playing, which isn't really like the smallest potatoes ever. 2,400 concurrent players with nearly a 4K 24-hour peak is pretty decent for a...
It's not bad considering how this game was treated and what people were saying about it. Because if it was a situation where there was a lot of, like there wasn't really spoken about as much, then fair enough, that would be like kind of, But the fact that this game was spoken about so much and so heavily criticized, 2,000 people still playing it, but in a 3v3 base game, it's still quite good. It is. It's still quite good.
A lot of games, but given the scope of this project and the size of the team, it looks like they're closing the doors on a lot of the employees here. I don't know if that means they're looking to shut it all down or if they're looking to just downsize because they can't justify the spend any longer. I'm not entirely sure. That remains to be seen.
Probably both.
But it's certainly not looking good for the future of Highguard, which unfortunately I don't think a ton of people were surprised by. A lot of people kind of predicted that this might happen.
I would say more forced this to happen rather than predicted. I would say forced because Highguard is not mechanically a terrible game. The mechanics of the game, the actual way it's played, the whole logic behind it, is actually a good game if you take the time to play it. But because there was an agenda from the beginning I would say Highguard was forced to be unsuccessful. And that's why it is so unsuccessful now, because it was literally forced to by, especially the top tier gamers, like the top tier influencers in this gaming industry. You know, it was them that kind of really pushed this. I kind of think it's a bit unfair. I understand a lot of points that are being made about the game, but I do think it's unfair that it was kind of just forced out of the, just it was just forced out.
I don't think anyone read this shocked. Like, I don't think there was anyone like eyes wide open, no. Jaw on the floor, stunned by this news, because releasing a game like Highguard in the current saturation of this market, it's kind of a death sentence. Like, those guards must be high to be expecting this to be like a massive success that blows everything else out there and finds its own footing off rip.
I don't know why so much was
going to
expected
be
in
an
the
uphill
first
battle.
place.
It's very difficult to get gamers to switch from their comfort game to your game in the same genre. They might go check it out, but most likely they're going to go back to the game that they've spent the most time with, the one they're most accustomed to.
That's just natural, though.
The most notable example that completely bucks that trend is Marvel Rivals, where it entered into an extremely saturated genre, fucking hero shooters. That should have been dead on arrival, death sentence, bury that shit in the dirt.
It should have, really.
But thanks to the power of the Marvel IP, where so many people are so passionate about Marvel itself, and also the developers.
Yeah, that's... Welcome to the life of a YouTuber. Imagine, guys, I literally watched the whole video and literally it cut me off at the point that you guys have just seen. It cut me off. I can't believe it. I literally reacted to everything. But we are going to continue just because, he actually did raise some good points, and hopefully I remember what I said because I was saying a couple bits of substance, you know what I mean? But, hey, that's YouTube, man.
But thanks to the power of the Marvel IP, where so many people are so passionate about Marvel itself, and also the developers diverting tons and tons and tons of resources to just churn things out really quickly, very high quality, very quickly, and also the timing they entered the market.
Let me just say, so about the Marvel Rivals point that he was making, I was saying, the thing with Marvel Rivals is because Marvel itself has such a strong name. That was the reason why it was able to continue as much as it did, because as much as people could have complained about the actual style of game, because there were a lot of people comparing it to Overwatch, as much as you could do that, there were still people who just loved the idea of playing with their favorite Marvel characters. And there wasn't much other Marvel released games that are really good that the base Marvel lovers were able to go and play. So I think that was the main reason it was able to stand as last as it did. Whereas a game like Highguard, it doesn't have anything else that's core to kind of stick by and stand on. So that's the reason why something like Marvel Rivals was able to do as well as it did. Because I feel like if Marvel Rivals wasn't actually a Marvel game and it was just a base game itself, then we would have probably had something very, very different. Do you know what I mean? So I don't know. That's just my take with the Marvel situation. I think that was a good point.
Market where Overwatch was starting to flounder and people were hungry for something to replace it. Marvel Rivals just had all the stars align, and now it is successful and it did carve out its niche. Highguard didn't have those luxuries. People were even confused on what Highguard was in the first place. They announced it at the Game Awards and then went fucking radio silent crickets for a whole month. People thought it was a hero shooter. I was making,
I think just the amount of mystery that there was behind this game was essentially its downfall. Because if people already had their expectation and knew what this game was, then at least when the game came out, they wouldn't have been as disappointed as they are now. But where there was so little said about the game after the announcement, it's like people just built their own like version of the game in their heads, and there's no way that developers are going to be able to meet the standards of everyone and what they've built in their head, especially with the very little they said about it. It was a bit confusing with what they said in comparison to what it actually is. So that does make sense. I feel like I said this in a previous video. It could have been high risk and high reward, where this could have surpassed everyone's expectations and everyone loved it and it just went completely their way. But I think they adopted that tactic. It didn't work. And now it's just literally just been the cause of a huge downfall for them, unfortunately. That's my take on that.
I thought it was a hero shooter. A lot of people thought it was fucking Concord 2.0.
You see, that's what I mean by the confusion.
To know about it, so it was hard for people to get hype and buy into this idea of Highguard in the first place when they weren't even talking about it. So when the game came out, and in my opinion was okay, like I don't think it's a great game, I don't think it was a bad game, it was just kind of an alright mid game. So it was always going to
it's not a bad game. It's not
a player base. People tried it, they were lukewarm on it. Some people hated it. Some people did like it, but it was always going to be tough to get them to stick with it long term, especially if the developers don't seem willing to.
Yeah.
Like, these layoffs don't inspire confidence. So there's 2,400 people playing it right now, and I imagine they really like it to still be playing it. And they did add things to it, like the 5v5 mode. So it seems like there is a willingness.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. They were adding stuff. They were trying.
With
they
these
did.
layoffs, it seems like the future's
It just
uncertain.
didn't go the way they wanted it
And
to.
who knows, maybe down the line they could have carved out a unique identity for it. It did have some unique ideas, like with the base rating. So, like, maybe there's a what if there. And again, they haven't announced that they're shutting down or anything. They haven't fully turned the lights off over there. So perhaps it's still in the cards. But I just don't understand why it feels like no one at these companies internally is putting their thing.
So they did make a, you're going to see at the end of this video that they did make an announcement basically explaining what, I'm not going to tell you exactly what it said, you will see it in a minute, but they did basically make an announcement saying that they let people go because they're looking to continue, essentially. But for me, I still think that it's kind of a phase out. I don't know. I think with them putting so much into this game, and it was a free-to-play game, so that it was a free-to-play game, so they knew that they kind of needed to depend on in-game purchases and so on. I feel like knowing that there was so much negative press and so much negative reviews and comments on the game, and it became an actual trend to speak badly on Highguard, I think they just probably had a meeting and seen that, yeah, this game is not going to make anywhere near as much money as we thought it was, especially considering the numbers we saw at launch in comparison to now. They probably just said, you know what, we got to count our losses here. We're going to have to get rid of a couple of staff, and we're going to just have to see if we can revive the game in any way with lesser staff, because we simply just can't afford this right now, because our anticipated sales in comparison to what we are going to get now, especially with such negative press. Yeah, I think a meeting was had. I think that's what it was. I think an important meeting was had, and they just said, yeah, we got to let some people go.
Caps on. It doesn't feel like they're being
So I think it's a phase out.
Because this was a very likely outcome that most people were kind of expecting to unfold here. So why are they already laying off people after only 2 weeks? Why wouldn't you go into a project like this with a longer runway? Like, look,
they just can't afford it. They didn't expect
bleeding
this.
Players for a couple months, and that's okay. Like, we have allocated budget to account for that as we look to try and find our community and build this game with the players. Like, they're already doing mass layoffs after just 2 weeks. So it seems like they were expecting this to just fucking explode and be the next Marvel Rivals or the next Call of Duty or something. Like, who really knows what the expectations are anymore at these companies? It just surprises me how quickly games
I think that's what it was
will come
expected.
and die.
That's why they were so quiet.
Taking a look at the LinkedIn here, this comes from someone named Alex Grainer. Unfortunately, along with most of the team at Wildlight, I was laid off today. This one really stings, as there was a lot of unreleased content I was really looking forward to that I and others designed for Highguard. However, I'm excited for my next adventure. If your team or anyone you know needs an experienced level designer, hit me up. Check out my portfolio here to see what I've done the last 7 years as a level designer in the AAA space at alexgrainer.com. Cheers. The way that Alex,
it's going to be difficult for him
on
being
LinkedIn
on the back of
sounds
such a
like
hated game.
Most of the team at Wildlight has been laid off, and then he said
it.
how disappointed he is because there is unreleased content that they were excited for, meaning that it feels like that unreleased content is never coming. So my impression is that these layoffs are in preparation for shutting it down, especially when you also look at Josh
I still
Sobel's
think that's
post.
the case.
Today I was laid off from my job at Wildlight along with most of the staff. Once again, echoing that same sentiment that most of the staff has been laid off. You can't run a game like Highguard.
This is another senior. That's
most of the staff gone, and this was the
been
lead tech artist. So this is like a pretty big position.
Very senior role. Yeah,
it was
very
the best
senior
team
role.
I've ever worked with, and I've never put so much of myself into a project before. I wouldn't trade the past 2.5 years for anything. And then he goes on to talk about his experience. So if anyone has, a need for his expertise, to please reach out.
I just want to know how much expectation they had
the
behind
end
the
of
scenes.
Highguard, more like Byguard, because it's saying goodbye here. It feels like these posts make it pretty clear that most of the staff has been laid off, and that it's likely winding itself down for that next step. It feels like it's in that stage where it's.
So I'm going to show you guys what.
This is special game, and now No Man's Sky is a fucking masterpiece, right? But I think this the food developers to continue innovating on and supporting the game.
This is the comment I was talking about. So this was just released basically whilst he was editing. Let me read it again. Yeah, this was basically released whilst he was editing. From Wild. Wildlight.
Wildlight. As I was rendering this video, Wildlight Entertainment put out a statement saying, "Today we made an incredibly difficult decision to part ways with a number
So this is
of
where
our
they're
team members
suggesting
while
that
keeping a
they're
core
going to keep
group of
going.
developers to continue innovating on and supporting the game. We're proud of the team, talent, and the product we've created together. We're also grateful for players who gave the game a shot and those who continue to be part of the community." So it seems like, based on this, that maybe they aren't looking to shut it down. They're just looking to...
I just feel like they would say that, wouldn't they? They're not going to just sit there and say, you know what, after all the hate that we've gotten, you guys are right, and we're going to just take the executive decision to just cut the game right now. They did towards the end of that message where you can say thank you to the players who gave it a shot. You can kind of tell that there's a bit of, it's a little bit of a response to all the hate. It's a bit of a response to it. That's what I think.
Maybe
I don't feel like they would just say,
yeah, save some money on the bottom line because
that's what it is. It's just saving money. That's all.
So much.
It's just saving money.
That's pretty surprising. I'm not gonna lie, because from some of the positions I've seen here, they seem to be pretty high level positions. So pretty interesting and honestly pretty surprising. But all power to them if they are going to actually stick with it with their core developers here.
We'll see. I don't think they will, but we'll see.
Its own unique identity. I guess we'll see how it goes. But yeah, I mean, assuming that this is correct, seems like it's not goodbye, guard. It's more of a see you later, guard. Oh, hi, Mark. I don't know. Anyway, that's the Highguard update. That's really about it. So yeah.
Yeah, man. That's pretty much it. But yeah, man, you guys let me know what you think of Highguard. Is this the end? Is this the ending announcement? Is there, because I think that's what this is. I think that was more of a I can't even speak. I think that was more of a preparation for the end. But you guys let me know if you guys think any different. But I think, yeah, Highguard might be coming to an end now. You know, it was fun whilst it lasted, I suppose. But yeah. I mean, guys, I can't speak.